Leafs, Sabres, Game 8 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, and the most important game in the city of Toronto tonight. We're going to break down what's happening with the Leafs lineup, who is playing, who's not playing, and who's playing with who and why, as well as my thoughts on whether or not that will last and how these lineups will work out. We'll give it all a quick breakdown here in today's game preview, and we'll give out our best bet. It's all a presentation of Bet365. I'm Zack Phillips right here on the Leafs Nation 401 YouTube channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as we continue to go along here. Let's head on over and see what we've got for tonight's lineup, courtesy of our friends over at Daily Faceoff, because we do have some massive changes. Starting with your first line. When I said massive changes, like massive changes. And we're going to talk about maybe, hey, Nylander and McMann have played together before. Sure, that's not that crazy. But if we're going off of what we just came off of last game, or the last 3 games here essentially, these are big changes. Bobby McMann makes his debut on the Leafs' first line alongside Auston Matthews and William Nylander. Craig Berube pulling a page out of the Jay Woodcroft, Chris Knobloch playbook and saying, you know what, screw it. 2 best players, you're going together. Nylander pairs up with Auston Matthews here tonight. They've played together before. It's not the most shocking thing. Like, we've seen them get chances together before. We've seen late in games when they go out, and even to begin this season, when Craig Berube is looking for a spark, looking to get something going, we've seen them go out together. So it's not brand new. Like, we've never before seen Matthews and Nylander go out and play together. But starting a game, opening a game on a line together, this is relatively new. Nylander, Matthews, well, at least for where we're at in this point of their careers, I should say, go out together. Bobby McMann on their wing. Here's what I will say. I don't love it from the perspective of it kind of cuts some of your depth out, which we'll get into in a moment, but it does cut a little bit of depth out where the matchup game for the other team, they're not necessarily looking and being like, oh no, we got to deal with Matthews. Oh no, now we got to deal with Nylander. Like, yeah, it's a 2-headed monster on the first line that you're having to go up against and deal with at once, and that's difficult enough. It should be difficult enough for the opposing team, but you're not getting that next wave of like another elite offensive guy coming out on the next shift. Who knows if this lasts? I mean, we've seen different teams approach it different ways where you break guys up throughout the lineup. And we've seen, as I mentioned earlier, the Edmonton Oilers load up where guys go out together and play together. Now, I also would enjoy it if they were split up, because it would imply, or that would imply, I guess to say, that they're both able to drive their lines where Berube trusts that they can play on their own and stay on their own. As it is right now, we're not getting that production out of them. So he decided it's time for them to play together. So they joined forces for tonight's game. That's like the biggest, most obvious standout for me for tonight, with the lineup, the roster, the construction, all of that. They go together on the first line. Bobby McMann gets his shot. This one is a little bit more obvious to me as to why, and maybe it isn't to other people. If you disagree, I want to hear it in the comments, but ask yourself this. In essence, what did Matthew Knies bring to the line with Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner? To me, obviously, aside from the skill that he has, the playmaking and the goal-scoring ability, not to the same extent that they do, but he's got it. It's the physicality, the drive, the forechecking, the heavy play, that kind of game that the other two don't necessarily carry, right? So we got to remember that in all of it. If you take Matthew Knies and you load him up with Matthews and Nylander, again, when it comes to the depth, you're cutting that out. So if you move him down, which I think is a responsible decision, corresponding here with Matthews and Nylander going together, you can at least separate some things a little bit with Knies going down to the line below on the second line. You got to replace at least some of what he had, and that's the physicality, the forechecking, the heaviness, whatever adjectives you want to use to describe it. And I think Bobby McMann does a good enough job of replacing that. He can also score. I don't think he's as good of a playmaker. I don't think he has as good of hands as Matthew Knies, but I think he can score as well. And I think he's a decent fit on that line for at least what it is that they're looking for. That's enough time spent on the first line, because that was a lot. I apologize. We'll go through the rest of the lines. I just wanted to kind of give my quick overview of what you are going to see tonight, maybe what you can expect from them before you go on to the next ones. And who knows if any of that comes true. Like, it's very possible. This is the Maple Leafs. We're not talking about, the Harlem Globetrotters where it's like, hey, we can at least expect this tonight. They're going to win. The Generals got no chance. No, it's the Maple Leafs. You never know. Line 2, Knies, Tavares-Maccelli. So, obvious, as I just kind of mentioned, you don't want to load Knies, Matthews, and Nylander. I think that's fair. That's responsible. Knies goes to your line 2. This is right away where I see some concerns. Tavares is the goal scorer of this line if you're going to break out between the three. Maybe Knies at some point. Maybe it's this year. But to this point in his career has proven to not overtake JT as the scorer on this line. JT doesn't have necessarily the wheels that Willie did to be able to push that. Knies is obviously going to be the driver. But, like, if you talk about which guy's going to be the one to put fear into the opponent, it doesn't really come across as any one of these three, Knies, Tavares, and Maccelli. I'm not saying they're a bad line. I do like the idea of this. I just wonder how this comes at the other team when you're looking at it in waves like that. Like, when you have Knies separated from Matthews, you put him here, it's a lesser goal scorer in JT than what Auston Matthews is. Reality. Okay, so then how is this going to work speed-wise? How is the other team going to match up against it? Are they going to have to be as worried? Whatever. I still think they're going to be able to take advantage, especially if they can find some chemistry here. Knies is obviously your guy who goes and gets pucks, like what Bobby McMann did when he played with JT and Nylander. But he's going to have some more skill than McMann had, so maybe that's the piece that they're missing. Maccelli on the other side, playmaker. I'm interested to see how these two play together without the piece of Auston Matthews in between them. Because if you have them out there, Maccelli and Matthews and Knies, it's obvious one is Auston Matthews and number 2 is Matthew Knies. If you have JT and Knies, maybe in Maccelli's eyes, he views them a little closer. So it's not force feed to this, force feed to that, force feed to this. Where now it's like, okay, I'm freewheeling, I'll find whoever. And Knies is a guy who's capable of finding himself in the right spots. JT as well. And they're both guys who can play in front of the net. So I'll give them credit there. Line 3. I'm glad, as I just fumble through my words, I'm glad here that Easton Cowan's back in this lineup. I think he's one of the 12 best forwards the Maple Leafs have. Obviously, I don't want his minutes being cut. I don't want him missing time. I don't want him sitting on the bench, not getting confidence, not getting some type of experience at the professional level. And the last thing I want is for him sitting up in the press box. We heard Berube kind of say it was a reset, essentially, for Easton Cowan. But I'm really happy that he finds himself back into the Leafs lineup here tonight. And I don't mind who he's playing with. Waugh and Joshua. They are at least older, more mature, veteran-type players. Waugh, obviously, very defensively responsible. We know Joshua has that ability. They're bigger, they're heavier guys. Easton Cowan's not afraid of anything. He's shown that through the first few games that he's gotten in the NHL. He's a guy who's willing to stir the pot. He's a guy that's willing to go to the front of the net and get in scrums. He'll do all of it. Waugh and Joshua will go in there and help him, at least, I think. So I kind of don't mind that. I also think that if you're going to look at Leafs teams of the past, you've gone peaks and valleys or just kind of polar opposite ends where one night you could have the most skilled third line ever, or one season you have the most skilled third line ever where they just have like nothing else going for them. They're just not as skilled as anybody above them in the lineup and they're not as physical. So they're just like this third line that's like skilled but can't really play in the heavy physical games. And then we've had years where it's like, hey, here's this line that can't skate, but goddamn, they're big. I think you kind of blend some stuff here with them, and Easton Cowan is this little ball of energy that plays with these guys. So I like that at least. Now down to your fourth line, Steven Lorentz, Max Domi, Calle Järnkrok. Max Domi, I think, is incorrectly slotted as a center, but if you're going to look at the guys they have here, makes sense for him to be your fourth line center. Gets hit in a little bit, And then he can be bringing energy alongside Steven Lorentz and Calle Jarnkrok. Little firecrackers down there, rip around the ice. Steven Lorentz capable of causing some problems down below the goal line. We've seen him with some goal-scoring touch. Like, I'm not going to pretend he's a guy who's putting up numbers, but he's not a guy who's scoring 1-2 goals a year. He's got a little bit more than that, and he can contribute here and there. And when you put him with a playmaker like Max Domi, maybe they find some chemistry. So those are your forward lines for tonight's Leafs game. Taking a quick look at what we've got for the defense, we do have some changes here, and the main one coming off the news that Chris Tanev and Morgan Rielly will be out. I expect Morgan Rielly's injury to not be a long-term one. The fact that there was even questions like relatively soon before today's game against the Sabres, whether or not he could play, feels like a positive sign, in my opinion, that it's not like something serious. Tanev on the other side, that one is a little bit more concerning. The fact that it was an upper body injury that I think we're all assuming was a head injury. I mean, for good reason, we're assuming that that's what it was. Takes the shoulder to the chin. Accidental, 100%. But regardless, it shook him up. He's not a guy who stays down. And he was stung by that one. It took him a while to get up and get off the ice. Sounds like he may miss some time. Not that great to hear. Now you look at the lineup. Very different when you go from Rielly, Carlo, McCabe, Tanev, Benoit, OEL to McCabe, Carlo, Mermis, OEL, Benoit, Myers. Now, guys with pro experience, guys who have been around the NHL, Philippe Myers did show that he had some ability last year when he played in some of those games. Dakota Mermis has been a guy who's spotted in here and there. Not frequently, but he's spotted in. He joins the lineup. All I'm going to say with the defense, they haven't been great to start this season. Next man up mentality. You either have it or you don't. Let's find out quick. Let's find out what these guys have. That is your defensive unit for tonight's game. Down to your power play, nothing really changes here, obviously, other than OEL slots in for Morgan Rielly on that first power play unit. OEL is a guy who I think has some offensive ability. I think he's a guy that can make a difference for this team. I think he's a guy who, if he can really start to get things going, he could make an impact on that power play that maybe Morgan Rielly is not making. As this was pointed out by Michael Kirkpatrick the other day, and I do want to take people's feedback and hear what they think and what they think would make the show better and more enjoyable for them. So we're going to jump on over to the Buffalo Sabres. We'll start with the injuries and work our way up. Buffalo Sabres on the IR tonight, not playing. Jordan Greenway, Josh Norris, Ukko Pekka-Luukkonen, the goaltender, Justin Danforth, Michael Kesselring, defenseman newly acquired, in the JJ Peterka deal, and Jacob Bryson. Those are the players who are not playing tonight. Obviously, there you can see designated IR versus out and day-to-day, courtesy of Daily Faceoff. Now, for the lineup for the Buffalo Sabres and what the Maple Leafs will be looking at going against the ever-dangerous Tage Thompson sits alongside the first line of Yuri Kulich and Zach Benson. Josh Stone, also acquired in that JJ Peterka deal, is second line left wing with Ryan McLeod and Alex Tuch, a player that I think the Leafs should be very interested in. So if you're a Leafs fan looking for who do I watch on the Sabres tonight if things are going poorly for Toronto, it's Alex Tuch. Tage Thompson is a pipe dream. That ain't happening. Alex Tuch, much more reasonable if things can work out in the Leafs' favor. Jack Quinn, Noah Auston, and Jason Zucker come in there in the third line, and then down into your fourth line for the Sabres tonight. Beck Malenstein, Tyson Kozak, and Peyton Krebs. Now, Peyton Krebs is a player that I used to like or liked a lot. Thought there was a much higher ceiling for him. It just hasn't quite panned out to this point. Your defensive pairings for the Buffalo Sabres: Bowen Byram, Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power. And ladies and gentlemen, I took it off the screen for a reason. Wanted to surprise you. Connor Timmins is your second pairing right defenseman for the Buffalo Sabres. Closing it out with Matthias Samuelsson and Zach Metza for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. That is their lineup for the Sabres. It is now time to get on over to our best bet for tonight's game. And as always, Best Bet is a presentation of Bet365 Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. That's NATION. Code NATION. NATION at Bet365. You must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Our best bet tonight, just quickly here too on the season, 4-6 record, but we are up money. We're betting plus money pretty much every single bet, every single night. $93 profit on the year, 4-6 record. Not ideal, but 10 best bets given out through the first 7 games of the season, We got 2 more tonight. I don't know how people are going to feel about this one, but, at the end of the day, I'm willing to take the swing on it. I'm willing to take the chances. I want to see what these guys have. I feel like that response is coming from them, and I really, 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 really hope that the Maple Leafs are able to figure things out and start to kind of clean up their game, and if it does, it's going to start with these 2 guys. So going over to Bet365, what you've got for your game lines tonight, Leafs -125, the Sabres +105. You can see a total right now of 6. The under at +100, over at -120. Look, best bet tonight, we're going right to the first player prop market. Goal scorers, Auston Matthews, anytime goal, +115. Half unit there. Playing with William Nylander, playing with the guy who I'm hoping brings some intensity. Not that Knies didn't, but just, hey, Bobby, you're getting a chance on the first line. So let's see what you make of it. He is going to be alongside Matthews. Hopefully it gets them going a little bit. Matthews to capitalize, anytime goal, +115. And I'm not going far. I'm bouncing 2 people below. William Nylander, anytime goal, +170. I know the response is they're playing together. Do you think they're going to, is there 2 pucks out there? How are they going to share that? How are they going to share the ice? Whatever. Don't care. I need them to break through. They know they need to break through. They're the subject of criticism here in Toronto, in the media, the fan base, the coaching staff, all of it. Everybody is looking at these guys saying, can you get going? Even though they've got a bunch of points, can you get going? Can you drive this team? And I feel like at some point it's going to crack and they're going to explode. And putting them together could be the night that it gets done. So Matthews, anytime goal, +115. Nylander, anytime goal, +170. We're going to go half unit on each of those. 50 on Matthews, profits you 57.5. 50 on Nylander, profits you $85. Those are your best bets for tonight. That is your game preview for Game 8 of the Leafs regular season as they take on the Buffalo Sabres. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. I want to see what you guys think about tonight's lineup, tonight's game, your predictions, the best bets, all of it down in the comments below. So drop a like, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. I will be live following tonight's game for another edition of Leafs Nation After Dark, breaking down Game 8 of the Leafs regular season against the Buffalo Sabres. I'll see you guys tonight. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.